Hello,
Hey Ruben,
how are you guys doing?
good. How are you?
All right, I'm ready for the weekend.
Yep, me too.
I was gonna just get on to make sure that everything works.
Is Lauren gonna be the host or are you?
I think it's gonna be Lauren is going to be running the show, and then Kevin's gonna be our MC.
Okay,
I'm kind of here for the ride.
sounds good. Hey, Lauren, I'm gonna start the live on Facebook and then make you the host. And then I'm gonna leave to make sure it doesn't stop, okay?
All right, thank you.
If there are any issues, I'll jump right back on.
Perfect.
Okay.
Greetings, everyone. We're gonna get started shortly at 6:05, but thank you all. Just so no one expects us to hit the ground rolling at 6 or to be late. We're hitting the sweet spot, and we'll get rolling at 5 after.
Everybody hunts for a different reason. I do it because I love to be on the field. I love to experience the habitat. I love to spend time with really cool
They're not
people.
saying it's gonna start at 5 after.
Our state has those. They're not the tradition of
Great. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Landmarks Preservation Awards. Thank you all for being here this evening, or being virtually here this evening with us. It's better than last year when there was no awards, but probably not as good as the years when we can have a really wonderful catered event in a great historic building. But we're gonna make this virtual space the best it can be this evening. So before we begin, I would like to open tonight by acknowledging that this event virtually is taking place on the traditional land of the Puyallup tribe of Indians. At least where I am standing right now is the traditional land. Each year, the City of Tacoma's Landmarks Preservation Commission recognizes outstanding achievement in historic preservation during May, which is Historic Preservation Month. And this year's recipients represent innovation, resilience, and preservation during unprecedented challenges, as well as an undying commitment to Tacoma's history and culture. We've had a number of challenges, and that goes beyond COVID this year, I know, and we're continuing to struggle with those. And I think a lot of the recipients tonight really reflect how we can bring historic preservation to the table to help us as a community and as a society move forward and make progress with each other here in this great city. So without further ado, this is my favorite job as chair of the Landmarks Preservation Commission. I am Kevin Bartoy. You can see it on the screen. I love these awards, and I am going to jump right into our first one. So this is fantastic. Our first award and our category is Outstanding Achievement in Community Engagement is presented to Forterra for their innovative work with Hilltop Neighborhood community members and organizations. The Forterra Community Development Team has partnered with Hilltop to preserve 150 years of Blackness in the area. After a year of intense pre-development community engagement, they are continuing the Design the Hill activism at the old Rite Aid on 11th and MLK. It's crucial work in restorative economics to combat the racial wealth gap locally by providing deeply discounted access to home ownership. So it's fantastic. Congratulations. I guess to give a virtual round of applause, and Jeff Dade is here to accept for Forterra. So I know at city council meetings, they do the virtual round of applause. So I'll hand it over to Jeff, if you are here. Maybe not. Is Jeff here, Lauren?
He said he would be here.
Okay.
Jeff, are you the phone number in the attendees group?
If you are, you may not, you have to do, what is it, *7 to unmute?
Do we have anyone from Forterra present?
Is the number, is that something we want to unmute there, Lauren, just in case they don't know how to unmute on the phone?
I think that's me, but I'm here for Fort Nisqually.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, he's not here, so we'll make sure to get Jeff his award and Forterra their award. This is fantastic, I think, for anyone who lives on Hilltop and goes through Hilltop. This location has been one for a number of years that everyone has kind of wondered what is going to become of it. And the solutions that were reached through this process are really going to make a difference for the community and have development that is focused on the community. So very much kudos to Forterra on this award. So thank you. Awesome. So our next award, and I do know there's people here from this recipient. So here we go. The next award is the award for Outstanding Achievement for Broadening Perspectives. And this is presented to the Fort Nisqually Living History Museum and the Puyallup, Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Muckleshoot tribal members for the development of the program Puget Sound Treaty War Panel. The event represents a significant step forward in interpreting the full 19th century history of this area, and the panelists represented important voices that by and large have previously gone unheard. The Puget Sound Treaty War from 1855 to 1856 was the result of contested terms of the Medicine Creek Treaty, negotiated by Governor Isaac Stevens. This free program brought together a panel of historians to discuss the experiences and effects of these events. Fort Nisqually Living History Museum deserves recognition for the work of creating and organizing this event and for collaborating closely with Charlotte Bash of the Puyallup Tribal Historic Preservation Department to make sure the appropriate people were involved. By featuring Brandon Raynon, Tribal Historic Preservation Officer with the Puyallup Tribe, Jerry Ekram, historian from Fort Nisqually Living History Museum, Margaret Henry, oral historian from Squaxin Island, Netzi Bullchild, Nisqually Tribal Archives and Tribal Historic Preservation Office Director from the Nisqually Tribe, Warren King George, historian from the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe, and having Jennifer Ott, Assistant Director of HistoryLink.org, act as moderator. The event represented the beginnings of a new chapter on historical interpretation at the local level. By creating a space for Indigenous knowledge to have equal weight with traditional academic historic sources, the program illustrated the importance of co-creating history. Events like this help us recognize the multitude of perspectives that are necessary to grow in understanding how the past continues to impact the present and where we need to course correct for a better future for all of us. So congratulations to Fort Nisqually, and I believe Jim Lauderdale is here, and Netzie Bullchild to receive the prize.
Yeah, thank you very much. So hello, everyone. Jim Lauderdale, Museum Supervisor at Fort Nisqually Living Museum. And I just wanted to say it is certainly an honor to be recognized for broadening perspective and preservation by arts to further interpretation through the discussion of Puget Sound and in support of underrepresented. So on behalf of the museum, I thank the Commission for this award. The museum staff and our volunteers have desired a partnership like the one that we have now with the Nisqually, Puyallup, Muckleshoot, Squaxin Island, and Silicon Tribes, as well as others. These partnerships are important because they help us to tell a more complete story. I hope that these partnerships will also strengthen our communities and bring about a better tomorrow. I want to take this opportunity to also thank our panelists, and you named them all before. I'll just mention them again. Warren King George, Margaret Seymour Henry, Jerry Eckram, and Ott. Without these folks, we certainly could not have put on this program, and so we very much appreciate their efforts. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the coordinators of the project, Elizabeth Rudrud and Charlotte Bash. They're the ones that kind of spearheaded this project and brought these people together, and so I certainly appreciate them. And I just wanted to mention that we are continuing this conversation on Thursday, June 10th at 6 p.m. So Fort Nisqually will host the second in a series of virtual panel discussions with diverse communities impacted by the Puget Sound Treaty War. And this event is free and will focus on the era leading up to and including the signing of the Medicine Treaty. To find out how to join, you can visit our website, fortnisqually.org. And I do believe, yes, Netzie, I'm pleased to be joined by Netzie Bullchild this evening, who said that she would be willing to share a few words about her experience. So I'd like to turn it over to Netzie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is not my expertise on speaking, so I've written my thoughts down. So what I'd like to say is, in recognition of the award, which is due to the collaboration between the Fort Nisqually staff and tribal representatives, it has opened the discussions that have been needed to be addressed. The tribal representatives' hopes and goal is to tell the history from the tribal viewpoint. History of the tribal culture has been taught by non-tribal people, so there is a lot missing or misinterpreted information. With the panel's discussion, we are also providing tribal sources of information about the various tribes. These panel discussions are only the beginning of conversations needed for the public. So congratulations to Fort Nisqually Living History Museum. And I'm thankful to be a part of it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much. And thank you for creating such great programming. This is one of those events that we were very happy. Broadening Horizons was a specific award for one of our historic preservation months. It was actually a theme of the historic preservation month. And we're really happy to continue this on because it's such an important thing to not only use in 1 month of 1 year. So we're very happy to provide this award. Thank you both. Great. Moving on to our next award. This is the, we're not moving far either, I should say, in terms of recipients. This is the award for Outstanding Achievement for Innovation in Preservation and Outreach. We're presenting this award to Elizabeth Rudrud, Events and Volunteer Coordinator at the Fort Nisqually Living History Museum, for ingenuity and adaptability in programming when faced with a statewide shutdown and a global pandemic. Elizabeth developed a virtual series, Fort from Home, that offered 17 programs in 2020. Topics included Victorian cooking, firearms and the fur trade, blacksmithing, apple pressing, shoemaking, and many other programs. This innovation and creativity in programming has not only kept Fort Nisqually relevant to the community, but expanded their audience in a time of hardship experienced by the world. So with that, I would like to call on, and I believe she is here, Elizabeth Rudd. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and to the Tacoma Historic Preservation Group. Thank you. I'm deeply honored for this award and to share tonight and celebrating the preservation and heritage work being recognized tonight. It's been, as you mentioned, an incredible year with lots of challenges, and I'm indebted to so many who have supported the fort as we transitioned from in-person to virtual programming. And I'd like to first start by acknowledging Jim Lauderdale, who we just heard speak, for his real fierce advocacy of the museum through the pandemic, and for supporting staff as we had to rethink how we would meet our mission with two central components being interpretation and experiential learning when we couldn't do so with in-person programs. And I'd like to thank our Fort volunteers and interpretive staff who were brave enough to get in front of the camera, live cameras. I was lucky enough to be behind the camera for most of these and to share their expertise and knowledge in new ways. Metro Parks Tacoma and the Fort Nisqually Foundation were critical to these efforts, as well as those in the heritage and history field regionally, particularly folks at Washington State Historical Society, who I leaned on heavily as we made this transition. And I think that speaks a lot to the community of heritage, that we could all come together and support each other through this difficult year. And our virtual programs have allowed us to connect with new audiences, national and international audiences in very different ways. And again, we couldn't have done this without our community. So thank you, and glad to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. And this was one of those wonderful, amazing pivots that, you know, no one wrote a playbook for what we've gone through this last year. And it was amazing to see this, you know, really keeping a community together. And I know as a parent myself of three at the house, keeping many parents I know out there sane and smarter for it, and actually even expanding. I was amazed to see the breadth of visitors that you've had watch these programs. So this is really fantastic. Thank you so much. Great. And now we're moving on to our award for outstanding achievement for partnerships in preservation. And this evening it is presented to Pretty Gritty Tours for their efforts to support heritage organizations in transitioning to virtual programming during the pandemic. Pretty Gritty used their experience as travel writers, videographers, entertainers, and historians to help other organizations create their own video tours that highlight the history, stories, and architecture that makes Tacoma what it is. Partners included the Foss Waterway Seaport, the Meeker Mansion, the Job Carr Museum, Sumner Main Street Association, and Tacoma Sister Cities. Pretty Gritty Tours has also been working with the Tacoma Historic Preservation Office on the ongoing Tacoma Noir Murder Mystery series, which I hope many of you have been following. Chris Stottinger couldn't be here this evening, but has provided us with a virtual message. So I will hand it over to a virtual Chris. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Stottinger with Pretty Gritty Tours, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the City of Tacoma's Historic Preservation Office and everyone who's here tonight. Unfortunately, I could not be here in person, ironically, because I'm helping a program with their virtual experience this evening. They had a last-minute thing come up and I got called in, so that's where I am right now. But there's something I think fitting about this being a digital experience right now. For me, it's just a huge honor, sincerely, to have been a part of so many different heritage organization stories this past year. And I know what started as the hardest year a lot of us have ever had to encounter ended up being a new and successful venture for a lot of people. And just being able and invited to let these heritage organizations use the platform and tools they already had to connect with audiences they hadn't met yet was one of the most incredible and wonderful experiences I've had the privilege of being a part of in a long time. So I'm deeply thankful, and I'm glad that we could make everything happen in a time where we didn't think we could. It's not very often you get to be a pioneer and acknowledge the past all at the same time. So thank you all, and good luck tonight.
Great. And I think that was fitting that at least we have one video message this evening for our award ceremony. So that's great. And I know that I see in the comment box here, very lovely comments about Pretty Gritty. I think everyone really looks forward to those tours, and they've done a really great job at showcasing some great things in Tacoma and Tacoma's history. Moving on to our next award. This award is for Outstanding Achievement in Leadership and Preservation. And this year's 2021 award goes to Fred Roberson. Known as Tacoma's Prince of Preservation, Fred has worked closely with our organization to gift the historic Tacoma Armory to Tacoma Arts Live and secure a long-term lease that will promise a future for the venue filled with events and office spaces. Mr. Roberson has done the same for the University of Washington, Tacoma and the Carlton Building. He continues to restore other buildings in Tacoma, such as the Harmon Building, the Olympic, and many more. He gives people a chance and often hires workers that other companies may not. So this award he was nominated by Tacoma Arts Live, and Tacoma Arts Live is grateful to Mr. Roberson for his stewardship and courage in our community. And we're really happy to be able to present him with this award, and a little surprised it came across the Landmarks Preservation Commission that he has not been recognized for his leadership and preservation for the city of Tacoma yet. Fred was not able to make it this evening, but we will make sure to give him his reward, and I definitely congratulate him for his leadership. All right, moving on. The next award is for Outstanding Achievement for Landmark Nomination to be recognized. This is going to a former chair of the Outstanding Landmarks Preservation Commission of the City of Tacoma, Katie Pratt of Northwest Vernacular, for the Klinkenberg Decker House nomination at 1002 South Anderson Street. The Klinkenberg Decker House was constructed in 1904 as a single-family residence in the Central District of Tacoma for John and Cinda Klinkenberg. The two-story house has a single-family 4-square form, but was converted into a duplex in the early 1940s. According to Pratt's nomination, the Klinkenberg Decker House retains much of its physical integrity, maintaining its integrity of design, workmanship, setting, location, feeling, and association. Katie's work presents solid research on a previously unstudied area of Tacoma. So I'm very happy to give this award to Katie, and also to properly pronounce Klinkenberg in the most ways possible this evening. So Katie, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just wanted to say it's such an honor to be recognized by the commission that I was formerly a part of. I loved serving on it. And it was a pleasure to do this research. Nod to Jeff Williams and Mark Pinto, the owners of the property, for their really beautiful rehabilitation of the property, and for asking me to do this nomination. It was challenging to do during the pandemic with the libraries being closed. And it was just really wonderful to be able to contact the librarians at the Northwest Room, and then to be able to give information to me, going to the microfilm machine themselves and pulling up records. And it really kind of tested my skills in being able to do research without being able to go to the library and sort through things. But it was really wonderful to be able to research a part of Tacoma that I didn't know as much about. And so again, just thank you so much for the recognition. I really appreciate it. And cheers to my fellow award recipients.
Great, thanks, Katie. And it really was great to see this nomination, particularly for the area of Tacoma it's in, because it's definitely one that is underrepresented. So that was really fantastic. So thank you, Katie. Moving on to our next award, the award for Outstanding Achievement in Residential Renovation is presented this evening to Selena Cathan and Robert Coney for the nearly $400,000 rehabilitation of the Wells R. Sears House at 3334 North Gove Street. This house is a good example of an American Foursquare by celebrated architect George W. Bullard. This home is also one of the first homes in the neighborhood and now one of the last that retains the majority of its original architectural elements. The Sears family were local poultry breeders and had their farm on this site. The farm included a windmill that took in water from a nearby creek and fed the pantry with continuous running water. Very little has changed in the home over the years, either inside or outside. And if you've been along Gove Street, it's kind of hard here to imagine that you had a working poultry farm right there. But you do have a very beautiful, beautiful renovated house that really knocked the socks, I would say, off of the Landmarks Preservation Commission to see the love and care that you both put into this renovation. So I'm very happy to award you with the Outstanding Achievement for Residential Renovation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are so excited to get this award. It's been a lot of work. Friends and family, including my uncle and MRF Construction. A lot of people put their heart and soul in this, and Rob and I are really excited. So thank you very much. And I have to say, hi, Mom and Dad. Thank you.
Excellent.
We're so honored. Thanks.
Yes.
Great. Thank you both so much. It was really a pleasure to see what you did with this property. And I'll still think about that farm every time I drive by. So it's fantastic. Thank you. Our next award is for Outstanding Achievement in Commercial Renovation. So, and this evening we are presenting this award to Horizon Partners Northwest for their impressive rehabilitation and restoration of the Hunt Mote Hardware Warehouse, part of the Brewery Blocks project, which is an exceptional demonstration of best preservation practices blended with new cross-laminated timber wood technology construction. The project created 4 floors of new housing in the UW Tacoma neighborhood, followed the Secretary of Interior standards in rehabilitating the masonry timber warehouse, and created 2 street-level floors of new retail space in the Union Depot Warehouse Historic District. The newly constructed upper floors followed the original design of Bullard and Hill architects prepared for the hardware company in 1906. And this building itself is amazing, as is the Brewery Blocks development. If you have not been there, and really appreciative for all the work that's gone into this and all the work with the commission and coming before the commission that's gone into this. And I'm really happy to present this award this evening. I believe Mike Bartlett is here to receive that award. Mike?
Can you hear me now?
I can. We all can.
Kevin, thank you very much. Horizon Partners and the entire team that was involved in this renovation, Flynn Architecture, Eclipse Engineering, and many other people. This was a challenging project and one that at times drove us crazy, but now that it's done, it's amazing. And I am very proud to be the developer of this project. Anyway, it's exceeded my expectations. You talked about people going down to see it. Well, we just finished the street last week, and the Camp Covos Brewery Pub is opening in 2 weeks. The Dancing Goats Coffee Brewer and restaurant is opening in probably August. And we lost 2 restaurants during the COVID, but we have letters of intent out to fill it up. So we hope to have 5 restaurants plus Incline Cider Brew Pub by the end of the summer. And we look forward to welcoming back students and convention goers and people going to events at the Dome. I think this neighborhood will be a magnet for those types of activities. And thank you so much for the recognition of this project. And I guess that's all I got to say.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. And I know you came before us many times at the commission. It was much appreciated. And the discussion and the work that went into this, and really the care to move Tacoma forward on the back of its history right here, which is fantastic. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we will go ahead and move forward. This is one of my favorite awards that we give out. I think we only started it maybe 3 years ago. This is our Outstanding Achievement in Heritage and Legacy Business in Tacoma. So I'm really happy to this evening to present it to a place that I very much enjoy. And I hope there's not too many people watching us out there tonight when I say this. It's the best fried chicken in Tacoma, really. I have to say that, and I hope I just didn't give up a secret and I'm going to lose my place in getting some of that delicious fried chicken at the Spar. So that is it. The Spar is our award recipient for Outstanding Achievement in Heritage and Legacy Business. The location of the Spar has been a center of entertainment and gathering since Tacoma's pioneer days. When the current building was built in 1917, a bar was built that could serve soft or hard drinks, depending on the severity of prohibition law over the years. It remained a tavern since 1917, and it remained the Spar since the 1920s. The building has had 3 major owners in its lifetime, and the current owners continue the tradition of those before, maintaining and cherishing this neighborhood pub. And I am really happy to award this evening. We have Adrielle Flinders here to accept the award, and congratulations. Adrielle.
Hello, thank you so much. This is so awesome. My sister Rena and myself and my husband and my dad just purchased the Spar from my grandma a couple years ago. So really, I feel like this shout out should really go to my grandma Kathy. She built such an amazing, beautiful restaurant. And since we were little, our plan was always to, take over the Spar. When we were younger, my mom worked there and we went to St. Pat's. So we'd walk up the hill from St. Pat's, and we loved that every day, and during high school, we cleaned it. We worked there forever. So now just being the owners and just carrying on the legacy that she's had over the years has been an amazing thing. It's this past year was very tough, but I feel like with the community helping us out, being by our side when we had to switch to takeout, and we just had so many customers in there just helping us out, keeping the doors open. And then now I just feel like we're stronger than ever. My grandma is still around working at the Spar, not as much in the kitchen where she would like to be, I know, but she helps a lot with the book work. My sister's the manager down there. She's doing a great job. And we're just so blessed for all the employees that we got to keep over the last year and just have helped us to build this business. So thank you so much. We feel honored to receive this award and to just carry on the tradition of the Spar for many years to come.
Great, fantastic. It's wonderful, and I love this award because it usually has those deep family stories and just much love in them whenever we give out this award. So it's always wonderful.
And thanks about the chicken. It is so good. I grew up on that chicken.
I hope I didn't give this. Well, I guess you don't mind if I give the secret away.
Oh no, we love that's a good secret.
Great, thank you so much, Adrielle. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's the complete awards for this evening. And I'm wondering if I might be able to, let's see if I can do this. I leave it up to you, I know, but if everyone who's here could maybe turn on their cameras and we could give a round of applause to everyone who received their awards tonight. I think this award ceremony was one unlike any that we've had thus far, that I've been involved in thus far. It's unlike a year we've been involved in thus far as well. So I really, really want to thank everyone for all the work that you've done this year, and all of these awards are so well deserved. And thank you for doing what you've done to make Tacoma's history live on and to make history really the foundation of where we're going in the future. So to you all, a round of applause.
Congratulations, everybody.
Great. Thank you all.
The host has frozen out my video.
Uh-oh. Sorry,
No
Mike.
problem. It was
That's
great.
not me.
Thank you very much, everyone. Great to participate. This is Mike Bartlett speaking.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry about that. Technical glitches here. Great. So now we move to our keynote speaker for the evening, which I'm also very excited about. And I was making jokes that people will definitely be suffering through my emceeing so that they can get to this fantastic speaker this evening. So our keynote speaker tonight is Ryan Spence. And Ryan is a diver and undersea explorer with a passion for preserving history and historic spaces. He has served as an author, advisor, and board member for the Historical Diving Society and the Journal of Diving History, and worked as a consultant for National Geographic. Ryan is known for curating the largest private collection of Jacques Cousteau equipment, documents, and memorabilia, which is housed here in Tacoma, which I had no idea about, and my wife is French, so amazing. His workshop sits atop the historic 1908 Willamette Casket Company building in Tacoma's Nisqually Valley. Ryan lives in Tacoma with his wife, Corinne, and son, Jacob. And I am very happy to have you here this evening, Ryan, and looking forward to you talking to us a little bit about Tacoma's, what would I say, undersea history, I guess, below the surface.
Right.
Thank
A lot
you.
of Tacoma's history is below the surface. So
That's true.
the way we like it here in Tacoma. Thank you very much for having me. My son Jacob is here as well, running around in the background. And I'm gonna hopefully whet your appetite, pun intended, for some of the undersea adventures and history related to Tacoma. So bear with me, I'm gonna share my screen so you can look at things that are more interesting than my face. There we go. All right. Can someone confirm that they can see a picture of a strange kid in sunglasses?
We can
I
see
see
you.
it.
Okay. My love for the undersea world started at a very young age. This is in my living room in Memphis, Tennessee, a long way from any water other than the Mississippi River. And it's really the love of diving and exploration that was kind of the gateway for a lot of my work on historical endeavors. So I had to put this picture in so you can see how far I've come. I've been at this for a little while. And as mentioned, I'm coming to you tonight from the top floor, the 5th floor of the historic Willamette Casket Company building in Nisqually Valley, built in 1908. It does happen to be a Horizon Partners property, so been a part of that for a long time. So it's fun to have Mike Bartlett and the whole Horizon crew honored tonight. Great little bit of serendipity.
From the Willamette building.
Exactly.
Keynote speaker.
You can text him.
What's
Let him
that?
know that's what it, maybe.
No, he knows, which is owned by Horizon Partners.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So our first story tonight is one that's well known to many people in Tacoma with the maritime history, and that's the story of the Andalana. And it was a sailing vessel that pulled into port here in Tacoma's waterfront in 1889 and was met with a tragic fate. They had anchored in port and they had offloaded their cargo. So they had tied up with a very light load, some ballast logs out in Commencement Bay. And over the night, big squall came through and the ship vanished below the surface with all of the crew members aboard. This is the crew here. And this photo was actually taken the day before by a famous photographer named Wilhelm Hester, who did a lot of documentation of the early seafaring activities, both in Tacoma and up and down the West Coast. And there's a bunch of the images. If you've ever seen historic images of sailing ships down on the Tacoma waterfront. The majority of those were taken by Hester. So this was the whole crew that vanished. And Hester, after this, he refused, since this was the day before the sinking, he refused to take pictures of the entire crew of any vessel all at once. So he always insisted that they never be in one photograph because he felt like it was bad luck based on his experience here in Tacoma. The shipwreck itself has been kind of found and lost a number of times over the years. The shifting sediments in Commencement Bay and the varying positions of the outflow of the Puyallup River have concealed the wreck at this time. And although there are pretty good estimations on where the wreck is located, it's buried, so it can't be confirmed. There's actually a great special, if you're interested in learning more about this wreck in particular. Chris and Gritty City Tours, I'm doing all my tie-ins tonight. He did a great documentary in partnership with the Foss Waterway Seaport, and you can find that on the Foss Waterway Seaport Facebook and on YouTube. So definitely check that out. We have a short time tonight, so I'm going to go quickly through some of these, but they're really, hopefully it will capture your imagination and cause you to dig a little deeper into some of these stories. This is an interesting one here. Not all of these are tragic, but we're going to open with some tragedy. So in 1971, there were 7 students from WSU who were in town for a conference, and they decided to take out a sailboat that was owned by one of the students' fathers. And so they left from the Tacoma Yacht Club one evening, and in April of 1971, and were never seen again. They sailed off along Vashon Island and disappeared. They never found any wreckage from the boat. They never found any of the either survivors or bodies of the missing 7. And it continues to be a mystery. There are lots of articles written about that. Sorry, my son Jacob's adding details. I'll get to him. He's been researching this with me along the way too, and I'll have some pictures of that. So anyways, they did an extensive search with the U.S. Coast Guard. They searched from Tacoma to the Canadian border. The FBI was involved, and it remains one of the biggest mysteries, is the unsolved disappearance of these 7 individuals. And so we actually teamed up this year. They'd never located the boat, so we got a group of people together here in partnership again with the Foss Waterway Seaport. We have Julia here on the left in the picture. She's the head of the education department at the Seaport. And then we have Bob Mester, who's on the right, who's a renowned shipwreck hunter and underwater explorer. And then my son Jacob, also known as the Tiny Associate, here in the foreground. And so we actually had some leads based on some prior sonar data of where we thought the location of the sailboat might possibly be. So just a few weeks ago, we set sail on the waters and we went out to do some scans up along Vashon Island. And we went to the target location, hoping to find something, and we were unsuccessful, which seems a little anticlimactic, of course, but the mystery continues. One thing that we really learned, we did find some shipwrecks. There's lots of shipwrecks out in Mr. Bay, so we did find some, but most of them were already known at this time. But one of the interesting things when it comes to preserving history that you might not realize is, of all the history that's located on the waters of Puget Sound on the bottom, very little of that exists today. And that's not what you would expect. You know, in a lot of other marine areas like the Great Lakes with relatively protected bodies of water, most of the history has been preserved on the bottom of the ocean. And what we found here in Tacoma, based on sonar work, and this was certainly the case when you're doing the scans along Vashon Island, is that the practice of dragnet fishing has radically altered both the physical topography of the bottom of Puget Sound, but it also cleared away almost all of the historical artifacts. And so over the years, the trawling methods have brought a lot of things to the surface, but everything from airplanes to sailboats to commercial vessels, military objectives. But a lot of that stuff was just drug onto shore and sold for scrap. And so rather than kind of sitting there undisturbed, a lot of that history was erased due to the commercial fishing practices. So it just shows you how complex a challenge it is to preserve all these different types of history, and that's no different below the waves. So one of Tacoma's claims to fame, of course, is the collapse of the Narrows Bridge. And this is a great piece of trivia, but the Narrows Bridge is the largest man-made structure ever lost at sea. And so that's another bit of Tacoma fame that we have. And it's quite interesting. The Narrows Bridge, this is an overlay here. You can see the yellow represents the wreckage that still exists on the bottom from the first Narrows Bridge. And then you have both the second and third bridges. And it's a really great historic site. They did a bunch of mapping of those sites prior to the construction of the new bridge, but we did lose some of the artifacts were buried and disturbed during the construction of the new bridge. But this is an active dive site. It is possible for advanced level recreational divers to visit the Narrows Bridge. And it sits in about 150 to 180 feet of water. It's a challenging dive due to the strong currents through the Tacoma Narrows, but it is possible. The depths lend itself to, well, the depths also create a challenge. And so most divers that are diving in the 150 to 180 foot range in Puget Sound are breathing a gas mixture of helium, oxygen, and nitrogen. And what that does is it reduces the narcotic effects of nitrogen at depth, which incapacitates divers. And so it's really interesting dive. I've done it many times myself. You drop down through 150 feet of water and you're sitting there on a roadbed that runs along with the striping still on and a lot of steel structure still down there. Massive amounts of the bridge are still present underwater. And it's not just the demise of the Narrows Bridge that's part of our underwater history. We have the construction of the bridge. And that was quite an undertaking at the time. They used all of the famous Northwest divers, many of whom went on to do quite notable things in the industry, from developing cutting edge equipment to doing large scale salvage operations, including the salvaging of the Diamond Knot, which was lost off of Crescent Bay. And that was the largest marine salvage operation in US history. What's really exciting about the construction of the bridge is we have a really extensive record of all of that. There is, in the Washington archives, there are all the dive journals from all the activity that happened. And it has really detailed accounts of every day that they were on the job site. It has the dates, the divers, the tenders. And it talks about all of the different history, the work they were doing, and gives us a really interesting record of what was happening at that time. And there aren't very many other jobs that we have of the deep commercial diving work that we have this kind of record. So that's a really great thing to have. This is one of my favorite characters. This is actually the engineer on the project, and he wasn't a diver, but he needed to do some inspections, and he didn't trust the divers to be able to really communicate back what he needed from an engineering perspective. So he actually had them suit up the gear and give them a primer on how to dive. And he actually did a series of dives and recorded detailed notes about the progress. And if you know anything about these suits, you know that diving in them is not easy. They weigh about 250 pounds out of the water. So just getting suited up, and even for an experienced diver, it's quite the adventure. but for an engineer with little to no diving experience, it must have been quite the activity. This is a blurry picture, but you can't talk about the Narrows Bridge or talk about diving the Narrows Bridge without somebody asking about the giant octopus that lives under the bridge. And the octopus is one of Tacoma's most famous and notorious undersea creatures. Of course, there is no singular giant octopus that lives under the bridge, and I have to clarify that far more often than one would think. But we are home to the largest species of octopus in the world, the giant Pacific octopus, and they have been reported to reach 18 feet in diameter on official records. And I've talked to divers that swear that they have seen ones in the 20 to 25 foot diameter size range. So they are significant in size. A little unknown piece of Tacoma history for most people is that we were actually home to the Octopus Wrestling Championships. It made the cover of Skin Diver magazine. And this was it took place at Titlow Beach here in Tacoma. And the goal was to go out and round up as many octopus as possible. Local business owner and dive shop owner, Gary Keffler, who's still around and involved with his company, still exists, Underwater Sports in Tacoma, was one of the organizers. An interesting story about that is he was concerned that they wouldn't find enough octopus out there. So prior to the competition, he went out to various sites, rounded up additional octopus and brought them to Titlow Beach for the event. Although, as it turns out, he also ended up winning the event. So I'm not sure where he stashed those octopus, but could have had something to do. So not without a bit of controversy. So it was not the undersea mysteries that brought Jacques Cousteau to the waters of Puget Sound, but it was the search for the octopus. And Jacques would return to Puget Sound and to Tacoma specifically multiple times to film. The first time was aboard his ship Calypso. And for those of you that don't know, Calypso has a Puget Sound tie-in as well. Calypso was built as a minesweeper at a Ballard shipyard and first set sail here in the waters of Puget Sound. And so with Cousteau returning with Calypso, that was a bit of a homecoming here. Cousteau would also return with his wind ship, the Alcyon. This is obviously the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in the background. This was an experimental wind ship. And this was actually, Tacoma was one of the stop on the primary sea trials for this new wind ship. And it's a hybrid diesel wind generation system. So they can maintain standard speed while doing ocean crossing by working primarily under wind power, but then they can augment that with diesel as necessary to make timely crossings. So here we go. This is from the undersea. This is the behind the scenes picture from the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. This is Francois Dorado, is the diver. And this is here in Tacoma, one of our local octopus. The French divers, when they arrived in Tacoma to film, they were used to Mediterranean octopus, which rarely get above about 2 feet in diameter. So they were quite intimidated by the octopus that they found here in Puget Sound. And it took a little bit of coaxing for them to interact. And they had two local divers, Joanne Duffy and Gary Keffler, who I mentioned earlier, were kind of the tour guides. And they were quite impressed, in particular, that this local woman from the waters of Puget Sound would effortlessly handle these octopus that the French divers found quite intimidating. This underwater picture here is actually right off of Titlow Beach. So just about 200 feet off the shore there, right off of where steamers used to be. And you can see the octopus in the middle and then 3 divers. And so this was when they returned on the wind ship Alcyon during the 1980s. This is another picture of them filming. This one's off of Day Island. There's a giant submerged wall that drops off just off of shore. on the narrow side of Day Island. And it's a great diving location. Lots of sea life there. You got the giant anemones that you see there, lots of octopus. And then you also have wolf eels, which are one of the large species, which is actually not a eel at all. It's a fish, but it's one of the favorite things to go finding here in Puget Sound. So as in conclusion, if you want to learn more about some of the various history below the waves, I do curate an exhibit down at the Foss Waterway Seaport. We have Jacques Cousteau's personal wetsuits down there. You can see it, the black and yellow suit in the middle. We have equipment, photographs, and documents from the Northwest expeditions, including behind the scene photos here in Tacoma and throughout Puget Sound and on up into the San Juan Islands. We're home to Ernest Hemingway's personal scuba tanks are also on display down there. So there's lots of interesting things tying in with all the other maritime history that's represented on Tacoma's waterfront down there. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend a little time with you tonight. I know it's not always the easiest to communicate and to participate via Zoom, but I thank everybody for showing up. I'd like to congratulate all the award recipients for being part of the robust ecosystem that we have in Tacoma for historic preservation. It's really exciting to continue to create opportunities both in historic buildings and through storytelling and all these other avenues to preserve our unique history here in the Pacific Northwest and share that with the world. Thanks again.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. That was really fantastic. And as a employee of the Washington State Department of Transportation, you know, I like to say we still have a bridge dive crew at WashDOT that is fantastic and does a lot of work. I'm currently with the Ferries Division, so Washington State Ferries. We often like to laugh within the agency that we have sunk no ferries, but we have sunk several bridges. So
exactly. People are afraid of the boats, but they'll drive fine. Right.
Yes. Hood Canal and I-90 and everything else.
That's right. Yeah, there's so much exciting. There really is a lot of interesting maritime history, you know, from a diving perspective here in Puget Sound that often gets overlooked. We pioneered a lot of techniques that were taken around the world. We pioneered a lot of equipment, but in classic Northwest form, we were never good at PR. We were just working too hard all the time. So there are other places that get a lot of credit, you know, down in Santa Barbara and other areas as being these hotbeds of commercial diving, but we did a lot of it. We did it well, and we pioneered a lot of stuff here.
It's great. It's great. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
really
Ryan. Would you mind answering some questions from the chat?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to answer some questions.
Got two questions. One, did anyone claim to have cursed the Narrows Bridge?
I don't know of a curse. There's lots of stories of curses surrounding the various ship-based maritime tragedies, you know, but I have never heard anything about the curse of the Narrows in particular. You know, it really came down to they tried to dream too big with too small of a budget. They cut a few corners in the design, and you know, the whole world learned a lot of lessons. So there's not many engineering students, structural engineering students, that aren't familiar with that footage. So.
Thank you. The second question is, do you have any information about the wreckage from the dive on the Davis Pier?
Ah, yes, the dive park that's down there.
Yes.
There's an artificial reef down there. And are you asking about the origins of that material, or just what's down there?
This question is from Claire. Claire, did you have a specific?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I see. Okay.
I can if you don't mind, I'll just jump in. So I work for the Park District, and I got a question from a diver a couple weeks ago about, is it true that the wreckage that's down there is from the Narrows Bridge? I have not been able to confirm that, so I'm now really curious, because we both believe, both the diver and I feel like it's probably an urban legend, because why would you haul heavy crap around the peninsula? But
Right.
I just wondered if you had any information.
I do. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I understand. And I just opened up the typing questions over inside so I can see this now. So, It is not from the Narrows Bridge, the wreckage there. It came from various different construction sites around the area. That is the urban legend. And when I have been told that many times that that was from the Narrows Bridge, but I can definitely confirm that it is not. Most of that stuff lies exactly where it fell. There you can see, if you're over at the Harbor History Museum, they do have some pieces on display in and around the museum there of the bridge. But for most of it, you got to get wet to see.
Great. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your talk. Appreciate you answering questions. This is definitely a fascinating history, and good luck with the search on the mystery of the Wazoo.
I know we're still looking. We have plans to go back out and do some more looking, and my son is very excited. He's 7, so he's getting very excited about doing some shipwreck hunting. And so that's been part of our Tacoma homeschool adventure during the very interesting school year that's we've had this last year.
Yes.
But thanks again. And if we'll be down, Maritime Fest is happening, or Ocean Fest, sorry, is happening down at the Seaport coming up here soon. So if you want to learn more about the history or see some of the Cousteau stuff, there may in fact be, I can't confirm, but there may be an octopus on display down there as well. So go see.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's really the end of our evening here, but I just really like to congratulate again all the award recipients and all the really amazing work that has been done over this really trying year. And I think it goes to show that we are Grit City. When I see these awards, it really is the grit that we see on display here of people making do with what we have and actually making it better in the process. And so I thank you all. I also like to thank the Historic Preservation Program at the city, and that's Ruben and Lauren and Zoe and Mary are all, they make us commissioners look very good all the time. But the ability for them to pivot this year as well has been really incredible. So much appreciated on that. I have a few upcoming events that I just want to throw out there. So, we have the Fort from Home, building off of one of our award recipients of Victorian Cooking, a virtual Facebook event at Fort Nisqually Living History, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. May 29th. We have the Haunted Tour of the Foss Seaport. It's an in-person event. It's something you don't hear all the time, but that is tomorrow, May 29th, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Foss Seaport. And then Tacoma, am I going too quickly for here? And then Tacoma Noir, the virtual Facebook and YouTube event, Pretty Gritty Tours, 8 to 9 p.m. on May 30th. And I believe that is the finale. Lauren, is that correct?
That is the grand finale.
So if you've been following along with the Noir, that is the grand finale. For a whole calendar of events, you can go to the Tacoma Historic Preservation Facebook or cityoftacoma.org/HP events and find them all listed right there. And I really just thank everyone this evening and for another pivot. And I actually look forward to seeing you all in person next year for our awards. I was actually going to put up our picture of McMinimans to suggest we could all have a round and raise a toast in real time next year. So thank you all. Thank you for all the work you've done. And every one of this, the gratitude for me is sincere. You're all amazing. So thank you very much.